Fridays are fast becoming like Christmas when it comes for new content. There's a cornucopia of stuff out of the cinemas today, a number of which we have reviews for, like Halloween Kills, that's a review that's on there now. You Season 3, another live Season 2, all reviews we have on our channel right now. But as for now, we're talking about My Name, and I'm very excited to talk about this new Netflix acquired IP. I'm loving the South Korean stuff that we've seen recently, just really kind of blowing my mind, thinking I want to watch more and more content from them that I haven't seen or heard of. So if you know any great titles that I haven't reviewed that aren't really Netflix originals but I definitely should see, please let me know in the comments below. But for now, was My Name any good? And should you be watching it? Let's get into it. Yoon Joo-woo's father dies suddenly. She wants to desperately take revenge on whoever is responsible for her father's death. She joins an organized crime ring and infiltrates the police as an undercover agent. I have to admit, I'm a sucker for a good revenge story, but it can be said that we've seen incarnations of this story before. You know, that person that kind of is raised up or has ties to criminal underground people, but then you get this part of the film or the series where they show the human characteristic side of technically the bad guys, and then they have to infiltrate the good guys who are technically the good guys but also the bad guys. So it gives very human characteristics and traits to our world, making it very easy to relate to because both sides are good and bad, but on either side there's just not clear black and white. You have people that are people and people betraying people, and the name of the game in this series is betrayal. So there are probably films that will crop up into your mind as you're hearing about this kind of plot, this synopsis, and you're like, okay, so why should I be watching this? Okay, so that's the basic arc, but this is a great classic revenge story, and I am a sucker for one, as I mentioned earlier, especially when you take a bit of martial arts into it. And here we have a character who has a family member taken away. She wants revenge. Nobody seems to be doing anything about it. She finds herself in the criminal organization that her father was a part of, and there she basically learns how to kill through a series of montage that slightly becomes a bit too much montage. There's literally a scene where it's like black and white shadow, and she's like almost staring at the camera, and you're like, okay, that's a bit nail on the head there. But before, where you see her training, it's believable. And that whole first two episodes are really riveting because you're behind her. She's the only woman in this organization in the training, but you're worried for her because she is small and petite. It goes into some UFC, mixed martial arts fighting, hand-to-hand combat martial arts that you could pull from, like Krav Maga. Really, they don't really mention anything. They just show how she learns. And I thought that was all really great to establish what's going to happen further into the story. And when we get into those further fight scenes, so let's just talk about the action, it's brutal. There are some scenes that are devastating to watch. Not as bad as the Raid films, but getting close to. When there's one particular scene that crops up to mind, well, actually a couple, no, actually three, that are brutal and gory and they don't shy away from it. The camera gets slightly shaky, but it doesn't go close shaky. It just gets movement as if the camera's been jostled, but you get to see what is happening, and that shows great choreography, which I loved so much. I hate it when you get to see action and you know the people that you're watching because you've seen them before, you know they can fight, you know they've practiced so much, probably spent months on one particular fight sequence, and then the camera goes, let's do Dutch, and now let's shake it because that's what you look like, and you don't get to see what's happening. You know, there are some classic movies, Taken. You have a look at Taken 3. I know some of the stunt choreographers on that who have worked on other films did a great job, but because there's so much fast frenetic editing, you don't get to see what happened. In this, that's not the case. You get to see every brutal blood fist stabby and it's glorious. If you love that sort of visceral action, then it's great. And it's not action for the sake of action. There's motive and plot that is furthering the story, so you don't get tired of it. So when you get the action sequences, you are riveted. You're either behind the person or you're holding your breath going, please don't die, or you're on the edge of your seat because of the betrayal. You are the eyes behind enemy lines. on both sides, because you feel for her when she's in this world that is obviously really dangerous. She is making friends in the police department. It's not just black and white, like I said, but at the same time, she has ties to the criminal world. And so you're like, oh, she's pulled in so many directions. So as you watch, you feel like you are pulled in so many directions because you don't know who to root for, because people are fairly real in this. And I say fairly real, it's definitely a Hollywoodized, choreographed fight sequences where people are able to survive stabby stab things, and somewhat there is a sense of realism to it, but with a classic style that makes you think, yeah, okay, I wouldn't survive this, but those guys, maybe they could. I want to talk about the cinematography, and I know you might go, oh, this guy's gonna get all artsy with me. Actually, it's so beautifully shot. It reminds me of a lot of other bigger blockbuster films that have a massive budget. Here, the color palette, shot mostly at night sequences, is so vibrant, shows a city that's alive. You feel like you've stepped into a real living world. And that's sometimes often really hard to do. It feels like you have a bigger budget than there is, I imagine, because of the way it's shot with the color and the lenses they choose to use to kind of showcase what it is you're seeing. It's vibrant and alive, and you feel every footstep and corridor that you're walking down. You're wondering what's going to happen. It's definitely a thrill ride. I will be doing an ending explained and a spoiler talk, probably dropping that tomorrow sometime. Just still trying to catch up with all the content that we've got going today, so I'm hoping to get a few more out. But for now, let me just say, this is a hell of a ride. You're going to enjoy every episode. Normally with these long series, I end up going, oh yeah, you could shave down time. You could stop some of the development in the characters. You didn't need to go too far in backstory, or you didn't need to draw out the story too much. Here I feel like there's enough story development. There's some side stories that I feel like do add to the arc, and I'm hoping that you will love it as much as I did. I'm going to give this 5 Nicolas Cages out of 5. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought this was fantastic. Can't wait for more from this world. Thanks so much for watching. Do like and subscribe. Leave me a comment down below. Which is your favorite series from Netflix from South Korea so far, or film? But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.